Good afternoon and welcome to Football League World TV. It is Monday afternoon. It's time for EFL Transfer Zone here on FLW TV. My name is Sam Rourke, the Chief Editor of footballleagueworld.co.uk, and I'm joined by my two colleagues, Alfie Burns and Ben Wignall. Alfie, how are you getting on this afternoon, mate?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Sam. A rare Monday morning off, so I'm feeling quite relaxed. How are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate, all good. Ben, how are you getting on?
Yeah, very well. Second time on today. People are going to start getting sick of my mug being everywhere, but yeah, I'm all good.
There we go. As ever, please do send in your comments, whether that be on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. What do you make of some of the transfer rumours we're going to be talking about during this show? What players would you like your club to sign in the new year? Send in your comments, let us know, and we'll discuss it live on the show. But let's get straight into it. We're going to be talking about Sam Johnstone first, a player we've spoken about on numerous occasions here on the EFL Transfer Zone. West Ham are reportedly leading the race to sign the 28-year-old in the January transfer window. His contract does expire in the summer, but Valérien Ismaël is very hopeful of keeping hold of Johnstone past the January transfer window. But the latest is that the Hammers are leading the race to sign the England international over the likes of Southampton and Tottenham. Alfie, I'll come to you then first. What do you make of this? Is West Ham a good potential destination for Johnstone?
Yeah, I think if you look at West Ham as a club right now, they're heading in the right direction. You know, in the Premier League, I think they're a great watch. They're challenging for Europe, they're competing in Europe as well. They're doing well in the cup competitions and taking them seriously. I think David Moyes is doing a really, really good job with West Ham. And I think a move there would be pretty good for Sam Johnstone, to be honest with you. I think it'd be good for his England prospects, first of all. I think he's a little bit at risk of falling behind Aaron Ramsdale and Jordan Pickford, given how they're playing. Pickford for England, really, and Ramsdale at Arsenal. And I think getting a move to this sort of I think West Ham, we're looking at them now as a top 8, definite, potentially top 6 club in the Premier League. And that's only going to elevate Johnstone's standing and just in terms of his club football, but also on the international stage as well. I think it'd be a good fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, as I've already kind of mentioned, Ismaël seems to suggest that Johnstone won't depart West Bromwich Albion in January. He's very hopeful that he'll be able to retain his services past the window closing. What do you expect from a kind of neutral perspective, Ben, in terms of Johnstone? I mean, if you are in charge of the transfers at West Brom, would you be accepting an offer for him if an adequate offer came in, or would you look to retain his services?
Well, I feel as though that obviously he's got the talent to be, a regular Premier League keeper, and it doesn't seem as though he's going to stay beyond the season, regardless of what happens if we get promotion or not. So I think the hierarchy at West Brom will probably be looking at this and thinking it's the last chance to potentially get a decent transfer fee for him. So, and I think the way that West Brom do look defensively solid recently, there's no real, he's not really, one of the most important players now like he was last season, where he was keeping him in some games. So in that mind, I'd probably be open to selling him, and they've got a really good keeper in Josh Griffiths, who's on loan at Lincoln, who can potentially get recalled. I know he's only 21 years old, but he's had a season at Cheltenham now, playing well at Lincoln. It could be throwing him at the deep end a little bit, but they've got that option, or bringing Alex Palmer in, who's another keeper who had a good season at Lincoln, or just going and getting a new one. So I think I'd keep an open mind if I was West Brom into selling him. Obviously, if they keep him till the end of the season and they don't need that money, then great, that's good for them. But yeah, I would keep an open mind into selling him if there's good offers in January.
Okay. West Brom fans, send in your comments. Do you expect Sam Johnstone to depart West Bromwich Albion in the new year? Let us know. Right, let's look at another piece of news next. A raft of clubs are looking at Huddersfield Town centre-back Romani Edmunds Green. The 22-year-old is currently on loan at Rotherham United. Has enjoyed a really, really fruitful stint at the New York Stadium. Made 20 appearances for them as they look to get automatic promotion back into the Championship. Alfie, naturally, I'll come to you. Preston, Cardiff, Barnsley and Derby, some of the clubs linked with a move for Edmunds Green. The vibes that I get from the John Smith Stadium are that he's very highly kind of thought of at Huddersfield. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, my understanding is that Huddersfield are absolutely delighted with how his loan spell at Rotherham's going. He's playing regular football in a good side, and gaining really valuable experience. He played quite a lot of football for Huddersfield last season, given their injury troubles in the Championship, and he was good in flashes, but he was very much in at the deep end, given that Huddersfield had, such bad injuries, particularly in the second half of the season, and Corberan's side were really, really open. But there was still, enough evidence there for me to suggest that he's a Championship quality defender, and Huddersfield are obviously going to want to keep hold of him with that in mind. They've got some older heads, if you like, currently in the back three. Matty Pearson, Tom Lees, somebody like Romani, Edmunds, Green is really the future for Huddersfield. So I think, all being well, they'll definitely want to keep hold of him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Edmunds Green has 6 months left on his current deal at the John Smith Stadium, but the club do have the option to extend that for another year, which you'd imagine they probably will, given his impressive stint at the Millers. Ben, I'll come to you. I mean, of them linked clubs, are there any that stand out for you that kind of need a centre-back of Edmund Green's sort of ilk?
Well, both Cardiff and Barnsley, kind of struggling defensively on Cardiff were until Steve Morrison came in, but don't know if Cardiff have any money really to spend in January, and no Derby being linked as well, but until the takeover goes through, then they won't be making any signings, so I think you can probably rule them out right now. It could fit Barnsley's, potential model. They like to bring in youngish players and play them. They've got quite a few centre-backs on the books, but they do seem to be conceding quite a few goals recently. I think in terms of Michael Preston, we've got Patrick Bauer and Andrew Hughes both out of contract at the end of the season. I know Ryan Lowe likes ball-playing defenders. We've seen that on Saturday. He likes to play on the floor, out from the back. From what I've not seen much of Edmunds Green. I saw him once last season at Deepdale when we were behind closed doors, and I think he got brought off at half time. I don't particularly remember seeing him have a good game, but he's clearly doing something right at Rotherham this season to be in, a table topping team. He'll have been gaining a lot of experience out there, and I think he will be ready to come in for Huddersfield probably next season. But in terms of PNE, they've got Bambo Diaby on trial from ex-Barnsley, so I can see him wanting a centre-back. But I just can't see Huddersfield parting company of Edmunds Green. I think he's, like Alfie said, he's got a bright future there. And if they were going to part company, it would take a pretty sizable fee, I think.
Yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on over the next few weeks. Edmund Green's situation at Huddersfield. He does like an assist as well. Really nice assist from him on the weekend for Rotherham, playing Freddie Ladapo for a really nice through ball from the centre-back. So, yeah, one to definitely watch. Let's move over to another piece of transfer news next. Newcastle United, obviously under the tutelage of Eddie Howe, are looking to make a move for Bournemouth defender Steve Cook. Cook's not had the best of seasons really at the Cherries. He's been out of favour, only made 3 appearances for the club. He has had a few injury niggles as well to contend with. But Eddie Howe is eyeing a potential reunion in the new year. His contract does expire at the Vitality Stadium in the summer. Alfie, will come to you. Is Steve Cook still good enough to be playing Premier League football?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting link. I'm not sure that we can sit here at the minute and say Steve Cook's still a Premier League standard centre-half, given, that we've not seen much of him this season. I think that'd be, sort of putting your neck on the line to say whether he is or he isn't. I think I'd like to see a little bit more of him and where his body's at this season and that kind of thing to really go on that. But, there's no doubt he's been good at that level before, and Eddie Howe obviously knows what he can bring to the table. And I think that's going to be important for Howe at Newcastle. Sort of in the interim, really, I think, the talk at Newcastle is that they're going to spend all this money. But I think for the here and now, Howe's going to need people that he can trust. And Steve Cook's obviously someone that he can trust. They did good work together at Bournemouth previously. And it's a move that seems to make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Steve Cook's a man that knows Bournemouth inside out. He's been there for so many years now. Seems a real character both on and off the pitch, a real leader on the pitch. He is, of course, the club's captain. Ben, Can you see Scott Parker kind of sanctioning this in the new year? Because he is such, he's a part of the furniture now at the Vitality Stadium, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, they've still got depth at that position. They've got Gary Cahill, Lloyd Kelly, Chris Mepham, but he's got so much experience, and he's just come back from an injury really, and I think he showed against Fulham that he's still a very good centre back. Whether he's got the quality to step into a struggling Premier League team and make a difference, you never know. But it's not something that no idea how we'll trust him from the years they've spent together at Bournemouth. But you would have thought that Newcastle, and this is no disrespect to Steve Cook, but you would have thought he'd perhaps be aiming higher in terms of the quality of centre back that he'd be aiming to bring in. I know that they're struggling right now, and some players might not want to join Newcastle in the way they're in. I know they've got obviously a lot of money now, but the position they're in, they do look like they could be relegated at the end of the season. And Cook could probably jump at the chance to go up there and reunite with whether Parker would sanction it, I'm not sure. But I imagine if the option was given to Cook, I think he might take it. I know he's been a good servant to Bournemouth, but it's one of those chances if it comes about that he probably can't say no to.
Yeah, like you say, he's 30 years old now, so he's kind of reaching the latter end of his playing career. Also worth noting that performance he gave down at Craven Cottage the other week. That double stop he made was a real standout moment from Cook in the back line. It's got to be said. Right, let's look at some more news next. Once again, this is a player we've spoken about on numerous occasions here on EFL Transfer Zone on FLW TV. That is Ben Brereton-Diaz. His reported £25 million price tag is putting off potential suitors by all accounts. Reports emerging over the weekend. We've seen numerous Premier League clubs being linked with a move for the Chilean international. Leeds United and Brighton, two that have been heavily linked with the player of late. Alfie, I'll come to you. 17 league goals this season for Brereton-Diaz. It's been a phenomenal season for him. Is he worth 25 million? Are you surprised to see clubs being put off by this valuation, or what's your thoughts on it?
I think £25 million is too much money. Obviously, speaking as a Leeds fan, I'd be absolutely livid if Leeds went out in January and spent £25 million on Brereton-Diaz when he's effectively got 18 months left on his deal, with the option that Blackburn have on there. I just don't understand how anybody's going to, pay that money when they could just wait a little bit and get him on either a cut price deal or a free transfer. I think it'd be absolutely crazy money if somebody spent it. He's a talent. As you mentioned there, 17 goals this season at 22. He's only going to get better, and I think he's finally sort of living up to the potential that we saw when he first broke through at Nottingham Forest. But for me, £25 million is just too much money. But again, I think that when Blackburn signed him, I felt that they paid over the odds for him at the time, and that sort of £7 million, I think it was, or whatever it is, that doesn't look terrible business at the minute when figures like 25 million are getting thrown around.
Yeah, certainly a hefty fee being bandied about. Ben, as a Preston North End, leave your bias at the door, please, for this one. Is Ben Brereton-Diaz a £25 million striker right now, or is that a little bit premature?
It's hard to say. Apart from Alexander Mitrovic, is any striker really worth that much in the division? I know he's having it's hard to say if it's a purple patch or not, because obviously he's not done it like he has done this season before, and we know what the Chile caps over the summer have probably done for his confidence and he's in front of goal. I'd probably say he's worth in the £15 million range. I think that's what Adam Armstrong went for with a year left on his contract, and essentially with the option he's got 18 months left, Brereton. And I think it's basically Blackburn using their position where it's a pretty strong one with 18 months left. But when that gets to 12 months, obviously it gets a little bit weaker. And they won't want to lose him, obviously, in the midway point of the season when they're challenging for the top two. Obviously, Fulham and Bournemouth's recent forms brought Blackburn back into their wins. But it's hard not to impress with him this season, Brereton. Some of the goals he's scored all kinds of goals from different positions. But 25 million, I do agree with Alfie, would be a bit of a mental price for anyone to pay. If it's in the region of 15 to 20, with add-ons included in that price, it's probably a little bit fairer. But yeah, I think Blackburn are trying to do all they can with that price tag to keep him around.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Blackburn Rovers fans, send in your comments, whether you're watching this show live now or on demand on YouTube. How much is Ben Brereton-Diaz worth in your eyes? Is the £25 million valuation a fair price tag? Please do let us know. Right, we've got one more piece of EFL transfer news next. Swansea City are eyeing a move for Ipswich Town attacking midfielder Scott Fraser. Obviously, Fraser, a man that Martin knows very well during their time at MK Dons together. Fraser had a really, really fruitful season last season, scoring 14 goals and providing 5 assists for Milton Keynes Dons. It's not gone as well as that at Ipswich Town so far. It's been a relatively slow start for him at Portman Road. He has been a pretty much ever-present figure, though, within that 11. But in terms of the output, it's probably not matched what it did at MK Dons last season. Alfie, will come to you then. We know the quality that Scott Fraser possesses, certainly at League One level. He's a player that Russell Martin knows well, can get the best out of. What do you make of this potential transfer?
Yeah, I can see why, Martin wants him, given that he got such a fine tune out of him last season in League One. I think that, it was always going to be inevitable that this transfer window coming, we saw Martin, we will see Martin linked with players that he had at MK Dons last season. I think that, he arrived so late in the summer, it was maybe a little bit difficult for him to get deals like that done, but I think it's only natural that it's going to happen. So I can definitely see why he wants him, at Swansea. I think that it'd be a decent fit, and if you could get a similar tune out of him in the Championship, then it'd be great news for the Swans. But Ipswich, really, they need to get their house in order, really, don't they? They need to get, the new manager through the door, and the new manager needs to assess the squad and decide who he wants, to carry forward with him until the end of the season. There's no denying that Scott Fraser is a really, really good League One player, and I would be very surprised if whoever took over at Portman Road was pushing him out of the door in January.
When it comes to Swansea City, Ben, I mean, a lot's been spoken about the kind of Jamie Patterson, Joel Pirro sort of partnership in the final third. A lot of the creative burdens perhaps been put onto Patterson's shoulders. Do you think signing someone like Scott Fraser could perhaps ease that burden on Patterson and provide another source of goals for Joel Pirro, a source of opportunities for Pirro?
I think so, yeah. The way obviously Martin plays, he played the same at MK Dons. He uses 2 attacking midfielders behind the striker, and obviously signed Olivier Ntcham just after the transfer window closed, and he's kind of been in and out of games. And I just think maybe Fraser, although he will have a lot to prove at Championship level because he's never played it before, but I think playing on Martin again could bring the best out of him, and obviously bring another source of goals and more opportunities for Pirro as well. I think that obviously at Ipswich, at MK Dons, he was kind of a big fish, older. The player went through him basically through the middle in the number 10 role. And that's why he got as many goals and assists he did. And at Ipswich, he's kind of sharing that creative burden with, the likes of Chaplin, Bersant Chelina and other players. So I think putting him in that Swansea team and giving him the freedom with Patterson to play with Pirro, I think it could make him flourish. And obviously he's got to prove he's got that Championship quality, but I think he's a player under a manager he trusts and likes, who can make the step up.
Yeah, absolutely. Just finally, from an Ipswich perspective then, Ben, they are managerless right now. Paul Cook's left the club. He did play a fair amount under Paul Cook, but would you be keeping hold of Scott Fraser? Because as we've already mentioned, we know what he can do in the third tier. Would you be inclined to keep hold of Scott Fraser, as of next year?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's helped. He's played on the left of an attacking 3 most of the time for Ipswich under Paul Cook, and at MK Dons he's mainly playing through the middle in the number 10. So I'd be inclined to give him a run of games in that number 10 role if they do play with that kind of system, whatever the new manager is going to be, to see if he can flourish and get them goals and assists he did for MK Dons. He's clearly a talented player with a cutting edge when he's on the ball, when he gets around the box. So I think it would be silly of Ipswich if they were going to cash in already. And I don't think they could command a huge fee for him on the form of this season, but definitely think there's a player in there who can flourish under whoever the new manager will be at Portman Road.
Ipswich fans, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you want to keep hold of Scott Fraser? Is he a player that can have a big part to play in the new year at Portman Road? And Swansea fans, let us know your thoughts on this latest link with Scott Fraser from Ipswich. Right, well, that brings this week's episode of the EFL Transfer Zone to a close. Alfie, Ben, thanks for joining me this afternoon. Thanks to everyone that tuned in to watch the show. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to FLW TV on YouTube. Like the video if you're watching it on YouTube as well. We do appreciate all the new subscribers that come and join us here on Football League One TV. We've got plenty more shows coming up this week, so make sure you stay tuned across all of our social media channels. But until next time, we shall see you soon.